We're Texas CASA, and we're exploring issues in the foster care system that need fixing and proposing solutions. This is The Fix.
When we think about the important needs of our foster youth who are in the long-term permanent managing conservatorship of the state of Texas, it is so important that we are prioritizing their education and their connections to their school as one of the most stabilizing influences that they will have in their childhood. Every time that their placement is disrupted, it often results in them having to move to a new school where they have to learn not just the new subject materials and what their class is learning, but they have to learn where the cafeteria is again. They have to find where their friends are going to be. They have to find an entirely new organizational system in a new school system, and that is very overwhelming. And imagine having to do that not just once, but twice or 3 times or 4 times or a dozen times within one school year. It is very easy to understand why our foster kids fall behind so quickly and have extreme difficulty graduating from high school on time. Our foster kids need caring, committed adults who take an interest in their academic performance and make sure that they are doing a good job of keeping track of all of their educational records and needs as they move from school to school. This is particularly important for our foster kids with disabilities. They need to have someone who is able to track how their progress is and make sure that if there's anything that they are delayed on, that they're missing on, we're not just attributing those delays to the frequency that they are changing schools, but in fact, there could be an unmet need that is being missed because their placements in schools are changing. So we need people who are committed to following up on those children's records, who are making sure that the new school is understanding exactly what this child has been through and what they're facing ahead, and then acting as their advocate to not just say this is who they are and where they've been, but this is what they need. So for our children with disabilities, they need someone who is there to say, school, I think you need to evaluate this child for a disability, for special education services or 504. They need someone to speak up for them when the student might get into trouble because of the trauma or experiences that they've had, and advocate for them to remain in school, to avoid out-of-school suspensions, which only further push foster children away from the school system. Additionally, for children who are placed in congregate care settings, so placements that don't have a foster parent, like an RTC, they need someone to serve as a surrogate parent for making their educational decisions if they are in special education. Their caseworker is not allowed to serve in that role, and neither is someone at the RTC. So a volunteer such as a CASA can step in and serve as that parent and make sure that that child's needs and rights are being protected. It's also extremely important that we make sure that we are cheering them on, not just academically, but socially and being part of a community. Things like joining sports teams or clubs or having their interests explored are the things that help a child establish those roots in a community and that help that child create a sense of normalcy and belonging. And those are the kind of ties that a child looks back on after they turn 18 or after they leave our system and connect themselves to that community and find those grounding roots that will help them flourish as an adult. If we don't make the effort to ensure that a child stays in their same school whenever possible, we are making that child break and reform bonds over and over and over again, which is extremely detrimental to not only their educational progress, but their emotional healing. For our children that are in the PMC of the department, making sure that we are going to all ends of the earth, including establishing transportation to keep them in their school of origin, even if their placement changes outside of that range, it's incredibly important to making sure that that foster child has that educational continuity to be successful, and that we are able to establish what the child needs and be able to provide services without having to start over every time we have a school change. And that's The Fix.